Good evening, good morning, gearheads, wherever you are. Welcome to Speed City's coverage of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We just watched qualifying where championship leader Lando Norris put it on pole in the rain. This is John Massengale. I'm about to be joined by the whole Speed City team, but I want to just set the scene for you a little bit here. I am in the paddock in Las Vegas, and it has been raining pretty much for about the last 3 or 4 hours. Lightly, never really heavy, but it was a really exciting qualifying because of the rain. But the scene in Vegas is just as you would expect, with the amazing skyline, with the cars racing down the streets of Vegas. It is the scene that we've, now in our third year here in Vegas, have come to know and love, and it is really spectacular, just like you would imagine. And the qualifying today did not disappoint. Lando Norris, of course, leading the championship now ahead of his teammate Oscar Piastri and Max Verstappen. Well, those three all did well in qualifying, but let me just run down that top 10 for you to start with. Lando Norris on the pole, followed by Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz. Fantastic job by Carlos Sainz in the Williams, followed by George Russell in the Mercedes, and then Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris's teammate, in the other McLaren car, followed by Liam Lawson in the Racing Bulls. Fantastic job. A really nice placement for Liam Lawson. He's had a really great run in these last few races. And after Liam Lawson, Fernando Alonso, another great result for a driver who hasn't had that many lately. And in the other Racing Bulls, in 8th place, Isaac Hadjar. And in 9th, Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. And followed by, in 10th, Pierre Gasly in the Alpine. An impressive outing for several of these drivers who we haven't seen up there. And there's a couple names that you might notice missing. Lewis Hamilton. Actually, Lewis Hamilton did not make it out of Q1. In fact, he qualified 20th. It was raining so hard in Q1. It was so unpredictable, but it was really tough. But while I wait for the team, I'm coming to you live from the Pirelli Hospitality in the paddock. And so gracious to join us is the head of Pirelli Motorsport, Mario Isola. Mario, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, welcome. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for the invitation.
And we appreciate your hospitality.
I'm happy for that. The weather is not great. So.
Well, we appreciate you letting us broadcast from your suite, where we have to be close to the action right here in the paddock, so we really appreciate it. But so today, when the rain looked like it was going to last all the way through FP3 into qualifying, what was running through the head of the guy who's in charge of all the tires? What was going through your mind?
It's not easy because nobody has any knowledge on the level of grip on this track in wet conditions. So we saw that at the beginning of Q1, most of the drivers decided to use the intermediate tire. That was not the right choice. And then they switched to the full wet. That's an indication that they don't have plenty of data for Vegas in wet condition. Then qualifying was great. We had a lot of action from Q1 to Q3 without any stop. Yesterday was also difficult to collect data for tomorrow. Tomorrow should be dry. And in that case, having an idea on the strategy is tricky. We know that they had some graining on the slick tires. The graining is affecting the degradation and the wear. So it could be any strategy at the moment, honestly.
Okay, so what about when McLaren was the first out on the soft tires in FP3? Did that give them any advantage? Did that pay any dividends in qualifying?
Not really, because this morning they used the some performance. They ran some performance runs, not high fuel. So it's the important information for the teams is to understand how the tires are behaving with when the car is heavy. That's the most important.
Full of fuel.
Full of fuel. And in that case, you generate more grain. The track is green. It will be green tomorrow. And because you have no rubber on track after the rain today. And these accelerate the graining and increase the level of graining. It's tomorrow they have to pay attention, especially in the first couple of laps, to get the tires into the right temperature and try to avoid the graining.
That's right. You talked about how we didn't have any rain data, right, coming in here, but also, so we're going to go into a race day in Vegas with, no green track data for a race day like that. We talk about the track being a slick surface here. So this is all new data that they're going to have to watch out for, like you're saying.
Yeah, that's why for the race they must be very flexible, and they have to adapt their strategy according to what they understand at the beginning of the race. Probably we will have a majority of drivers starting on the medium, considering the result from yesterday, but maybe someone could try the soft and see how the soft, and maybe plan a short stint on the soft to switch on the hard later. The real topic here is that nobody has any knowledge on the hard compound, and the hard compound is the compound for the race. We know that majority of the teams, majority of the drivers decided to keep both sets of hard in their allocation for Saturday. Sorry.
We're all doing that.
Yes, for the race. And that's a clear indication that they believe the hard is the compound for the race, but they have to use two. The other one could be the minimum or could be the soft according to the strategy, and especially the first stint what they decide to do.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting to see how this plays out. Now,
absolutely.
You were talking about maybe a team or two might take a gamble. Any idea of which teams might do a tire gamble?
Not at the moment, and also I have no idea on who will try a one-stop strategy and who will start with the idea of going straight to the two-stop strategy. In Vegas, it's not impossible to overtake. You have some part of the circuit where you can overtake, and you don't lose a lot of time for an additional pit stop. It's 21 seconds. So these are numbers that are important to understand if teams are planning a one-stop or two-stop, or maybe they start with an idea of a one-stop and they switch to a two-stop during the race.
Yeah, and Jonathan Green has joined us. He was over in the PA booth with Bob Varsha, and I know you're itching to ask Mario a question. You got man.
I'm going to thank him because I've been sitting there scratching my head going, well, I'm supposed to be an expert here, or at least to try to give the fans, a cue in as to whether it be intermediates or wets or which is going to be fast and what do we need tomorrow. To hear Mario say he hasn't got a clue, and it's a complete gamble in the city of gambling. But what a weekend, Mario. I mean, obviously you knew it was going to be cold. Everybody knew it was going to be cold, but we could never have predicted how these sessions have gone.
Never. No, you are right. This year from FP1, we knew that the track was slippery because we usually measure the level of grip and the roughness. Is a smooth tarmac, is slippery, is a straight circuit, so is dusty at the beginning. FP1 usually is not very relevant. You have a lot of track evolution. But then FP2 was again with a red flag that they had no possibility to collect very useful information. Then we had rain, we had a reset of the track. So it's a difficult weekend, and that's why I said for the race they must be flexible because they need to adapt the strategy to what they see at the beginning of the race. If anyone is going to start on the hard, is giving a very important information to the other competitors. So maybe, I don't know who is doing what, honestly. But if you have, for example, Ferrari, you have Hamilton that is last on. Yeah, you have Hamilton is last on the grid. Maybe he could play a little bit of teamwork. Maybe starting on the hard and giving to Charles the information on how the hard is working. The problem is that he's giving the information not only to Charles,
everybody else.
Yeah. So
I think Hamilton's probably going to take two choices. He's going to take the next plane home, or he's going to do, like you say, something that is radical. Because starting 20th, I mean, he won't sleep tonight. I mean, I don't know what happened, if anything. whether there was something wrong with the car, but it's just so, you expect a night like tonight to be where Hamilton shines, and he's been looking for a night where he could do something special, and it just didn't happen for him.
Yeah, that's why he has to decide for something different for tomorrow. If he wants to try to recover positions, he has to gamble on something different from the others. So we know that, and I imagine that, as I said, majority will start on medium. So you have to decide what you want to do. Here, traffic is an issue because you can overtake, but if you are in traffic and you lose a little bit of downforce, you start sliding. It is true that here overheating is not an issue because with this temperature you cool down the tire quite quickly, but you need to pay attention. You have to pay attention to keep the tire in the right working range, to avoid graining first, and to keep the maximum level of grip that is possible. So it's not easy to balance front and rear. You cool down the tire a lot on the long straight. So it's difficult.
Mario, I saw, I don't know how many drivers sideways in these cars, and most of them had held control, like George Russell in the last session. He must have been sideways on his last lap 3 or 4 times, it seemed like, but they were able to keep control. There's no snap, it looked like. I don't know. You could take credit for that.
Don't you know the logo, power is nothing without control?
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of sliding was in traction, so I believe that drivers are very good in controlling the car when you slide from traction. But you are right. We saw more
entertaining
rally stage rather than qualifying in Formula One.
Well, no wonder Carlos Sainz was doing so well. It's in his DNA.
Can I ask you a general question?
It was his dad driving the car.
But we don't expect rain tomorrow, I don't think.
No.
Our expert, Connor Daly, made a good point, which is, you saw Sonoda do a 1.95 second pit stop in Sao Paulo. They're coming in, brakes are hot, and you've got to get your tires up to temperature. It helps if you can do a stop that quick, because maybe the brakes will help heating the tire. How long does it take on either a soft or a medium to get up to temperature on a track like this?
Here you need at least 1 lap.
Okay.
You need at least 1 lap, and we were trying to get information from yesterday practice in dry condition. What we said yesterday at our briefing was for quali, if it is dry, we expect cars to run not only the out lap, but also what they call preparation lap, to be sure that you have the front and the rear tire in the right temperature. And here it takes time. The circuit is not putting a lot of energy into the tire. Yeah. The weather is cold. On the long straight, you cool down, especially the front tire. So balancing this is not easy. If you make a mistake, you initiate graining, especially on the front. So all this is making the life of drivers more difficult, especially because they can manage thermal degradation.
Yep.
We know from past races that they are very good in managing thermal degradation, but they cannot manage degradation coming from graining.
Right.
And if they have graining, probably the best is to switch to a two-stop, fit a new set of tire without graining, save the tire for the first couple of laps, and then you can push.
Okay.
Love it. So you talk about tires all the time. I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk about the drivers in racing. So when I saw Lando run a faster lap than Max Verstappen in the rain, under pressure, I thought to myself, we are seeing a champion right now.
In the making, yeah.
In the making, because outracing Max in the rain, and under pressure when it counts.
Yeah, one mistake and it could have been all over. Yeah.
And we saw several mistakes, because it's clear that in this condition it's very easy to miss the braking point or to do a mistake. And if you make a mistake here and you crash against the wall, your race is finished. So it's not really. I mean, we saw champions. We always say they are the 20 best drivers in the world, but in a condition like this, they show their abilities. Incredible.
Yeah, it was really amazing. Well, the man has joined us. Bob Varsha has joined. He's looking around. Bob, welcome. Good job on the PA.
Thanks. Thank you.
I know you wanted to ask Mario a question.
Well, I did, and it has nothing to do really with what we saw today, but you have a number of personnel here excuse me. And I don't think the fans generally know how much work Pirelli puts in. I mean, here it is 9:30 at night. You've got all these tires that were used during the day today. So what follows for the Pirelli staff?
Yeah, we like to say that we are like a team, like a Formula One team. Our team is slightly smaller. We are 60 to 70 people here. We have also the Formula One Academy, so we have additional people that is working in the Formula One Academy. But with the timetable of Vegas, we work until late in the night. Yesterday we had to analyze the tires coming from free practice. Today we are going to do the same, also with the intermediate tires used. We have a laboratory here at the track in the fitting area because it's important for us to guarantee safety. That means that on top of analyzing telemetry data that are coming from the teams, we identify some representative tires, we cut them, we analyze them, we have a look with a microscope to understand if there is any potential issue.
Wow.
Because for us, priority is to guarantee safety. Consistency, safety, same tires for everybody, and safe tires. And then talking about performance, obviously our engineers are in the garages with the teams, giving the teams information and suggestion, but it's up to the team to try to find a way to get the maximum performance from the tires. So we have a very clear procedure for all our engineers in order not to give any advantage to anybody. Tires are the same, but the ability to use the tire in a better way means performance. And for these drivers, especially this year, when sometime in qualifying we have 20 cars in less than 1 second, then any 100 of the second counts. Sometimes 100 of a second is 1 position on the grid, and 1/10 of a second is 3, 4, 5 position on the grid. So it's really, and the level of stress is very high also on our people, because you can imagine teams are there to compete, and they are asking questions to our guys in order to understand how they can take more out from the tires. So it's really stressful also for people.
Yeah, I mean, because that's completely out of control of the teams. You get the tires that you've been assigned, and you have to do the best you can.
Mario, thank you so much for coming on the show. We've got to get to a break. Thank you very much. We really appreciate everything, the hospitality, your insights, fantastic as usual. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Grazie.
All right, you're listening to Speed City. We're live in Las Vegas with the Grand Prix. We'll be back right after these messages. All right, we're still live on YouTube. We got this mic hot for you, Greeny. Not too hot because it's Greeny. We are live on YouTube. I can't see any of the YouTubers. Let me see if I can check in, see what they thought of the day. YouTube is Chris Meadow. Are you there, buddy? Oh, Chris jumped off. He just texted. All right, let's see what's going on. Bob, y'all both got hot mics. We're live on YouTube. Go, go, go.
Oh, right, yeah. I'll tell you what, how fascinating is that? I want to go down, before we leave tonight, I want to go down and look at the Pirelli preparation, because it's only just there.
Yeah.
And what an operation.
I want to see the laboratory.
Yeah. I'm sure we wouldn't be allowed in there, but interesting, isn't it, that they literally pull apart a tyre and start to analyze that side of it for safety reasons more than anything. But very, very interesting.
Yeah, of course, none of these tires leave in anything but a Pirelli vehicle. They're proprietary about their technology, and why not? You and I both used to go to Grand Prix races where every other kid coming out of the track would have a tire under his arm as a souvenir. But those days are long gone, and I see a lot on the internet people giving flack to Pirelli about when tires are an issue.
All right, we got some of the usual boys here. We got Andy P, Kevin Kelly.
Oh, he's happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got Tim, Derek McCord's here. What did we say, Derek? We also have round 11 of the Super Formula Championship going on right now on Motorsport TV. Oh, that's cool.
So I didn't hear that.
Super Formula round 11 right now.
Oh yeah.
Andy P says Mercedes being summoned to the stewards for not submitting up setup sheets to the FIA. Signed summons for the Q1 incident with Stroll. Chris warned us of that. I'm going to text Chris right now, tell him Mario was done. He was just sitting there waiting, but all right, here we go. Coming back.
I'm Liam Lawson, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, welcome back. We are live in Las Vegas. We're in paddock looking at all the VIPs running around, all the teams. And the stage here in Vegas has just been the usual amazing, the skyline, the track running right through the city, just incredible. And we watched a fantastic qualifying. This is John Massengale, Jonathan Green, Bob Varsha with me, and Chris Medland's going to be joining us. He's out getting us some interviews. Jonathan, so we've talked quite a bit about qualifying and jump in on anything, but the weekend itself, I mean, just amazing. Again, it's hard to believe this event, how well it's run now.
Yeah, our opening salvo, if you will, on camera, we do a couple of bits before we go in the booth, and my overriding memory of sort of the start of the weekend was how Emily Prazer, the CEO
of Las Vegas,
basically said, you know, three's a charm, as Bob said in the intro, and I do believe that this is a far more settled and organized and like clockwork run event than I've seen in the last 2 years. I feel like they've got the balance between entertainment, celebrity, because you can't avoid that coming to Vegas, and bringing out the best, the Blue Men and the concerts and the bands and the DJs, because that's what Vegas is about.
Right.
And of course, the Formula One drivers race to that. The liveries, the helmets, they buy in. I mean, even the grumpy Max Verstappen, year one, still got out of the car with a leather suit on and sang "Viva Las Vegas." So everybody's bought in, and I think that has just solidified this event.
Bob, do you think that the salvo to all the tools ailing the low expectations by some for Vegas was cured with the great racing that we've seen the first 2 years and so far this weekend?
Well, I'd like to think so. Excuse me. But I read an article recently by British journalist Kate Fairman, who questioned the future of this race, thinking ticket counts are down. She didn't provide any evidence of that, but it was just her feeling. That was like the vibe has gone away.
Like run its course?
She acknowledged that they have an option on the table for another 10 years. And I just disagreed with the article entirely because I didn't see what she said she was seeing at the track. I mean, look at this Grand Plaza where the paddock is located and all the team offices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We know what that's going to look like tomorrow night.
Exactly.
When there's limousines lined up out on the lot and, everybody's taking pictures.
The 40 acres that they just purchased, that we're sitting on right now, was purchased by Formula One. And this paddock building that they built, it's a massive investment.
Yeah, and it's not like a gypsy caravan they're going to pull out of town.
And, they have, I was listening to the CEO of the Visitors and Conventions Bureau for Las Vegas yesterday, and he's talking about over 300,000 people come to Vegas every day.
Yeah.
So no matter what your event is, you're going to have some organic people coming to your event, whether it's to come see the Sphere or some show in Vegas or Formula One. You have, it's always going to be well attended.
Yeah, and, let's face it, you don't go to Vegas just because you want to go on a slot machine. There's plenty of slot machines around the globe. But when you go to Vegas, you want to see U2, you want to see the Sphere, you want to see, if you are going to gamble, the best gambling, the best place to go and eat. So that's why Gordon Ramsay and many of the top, restaurants are here. But the entertainment is such. So Formula One has to live up to that. And this is a sport that's just still growing in this country. But boy, have they matched it.
Yeah.
And they stated right at the beginning of the weekend or leading up that they wanted this to be a jewel in the crown. They don't want to beat Monaco. It's different. Yeah. But they want to be considered as one of the jewels in Formula One's arsenal. And I think they've done that.
So, do you think that tomorrow's racing, like we were talking about with Mario, they can have a green track? Before you got here, I said, they came into
Totally green. Yep.
Well, they came into this weekend not having any rain data. Well, tomorrow they're going to go into a race with a very green track because it's been raining a lot for the last 3 days. So it's going to be and they haven't had an ounce of running on that kind of situation because it rained a lot today. So, I mean, do you think that we can match the racing that we've seen in the first 2 years?
I don't see why not. I mean, both races that we've had here have had over 100 and plus overtakes. And it's surprising as a street circuit that you can get that many overtakes throughout the field, mind you, not just for the lead. But that just shows you how well this circuit's designed for overtaking. And what Mario has just told us, it's inches. I mean, last time out in Sao Paulo, there was half a second between the top 10 in qualifying. And again, Connor brought up here in the wet, there was thousandths of a second between Verstappen and Norris, despite ridiculous conditions that should be over. I mean, you could easily say, well, he beat him by a second, but that's the rain. Right. Not the case. And, you could look at Carlos Sainz and say he's no less in as good a position as anybody to win the race tomorrow. And that's what I love. I mean, I know it's a cliche, but we truly cannot predict. It's a lottery for tomorrow because of the lead up to it. And that just makes it more exciting. And I can see Chris Medland.
Well, he's actually joined us. We can look out our window and see him, but he's joined us on the call. Chris Medland, I was going to ask you, give us your eyes and ears. I think he dropped off the Zoom, but we're waving to him. So just come inside.
Yeah. Come out of the cold.
Maybe he's going to join.
He's beavering about.
So.
Yeah, no, I do. I really can't predict what can happen. And as Mario pointed out, you never know. Hamilton might do something radical like go on the hard tire before you came in. Go on the hard tire to try to give Leclerc some help and some feedback. Right. But on doing so, we'll give feedback to the rest of the field too. Yeah. All right, but it's a gamble worth taking.
I think I heard the doorbell ring and Chris Medland is back with us, I believe.
Good-looking fellow.
Chris, are you there, buddy?
I am. I'm right outside your window right now.
There he is.
It's right there.
Literally 6 feet from us.
It's a shame he can't come in.
Well, I could, but you guys said stay away. No, I'm going to keep roaming, actually, to try and find an interview. And this time I want to get one that I can use because I'm going to stand in front of you guys, look you in the eyes through the window and say, I've just had a shocker. I've just interviewed Alan Permain. I've just interviewed Alan Permain, and it didn't record. So I'm going to paraphrase what Alan Permain said.
Well, you can just bring him over here. We can ask him the questions.
Yeah, well, he's just gone back inside getting ready for engineering. First, he got dragged out to do an interview with us and F1 TV. And he was told by his press officer that he gets upset now if he doesn't get requested for interviews because they're doing so well. And he said, it's the price of success, I guess. I better go outside. So he did come and speak to me. Very happy with the work that Racing Bulls have done. 6th and 8th for the two drivers there. Liam Lawson, he said, did a brilliant job. But both drivers on the cool-down laps sounded like they'd had the worst qualifying ever. And he said they were just complaining, they were bemoaning mistakes they made, kept saying things that they should have done better. And he said he had to get them out the cars and say, hey, like, lots of people made mistakes. Only McLaren, other than ourselves, got both cars through into Q3. We've managed to avoid all the pitfalls that saw Mercedes lose a car in Q1, Ferrari lose a car in Q1, Red Bull lose a car in Q1, and then you've both put in good laps. Liam then said, but if I got that last lap started, I think he didn't get across the line in time, then I could have done better. And he said, no, Isaac did start his lap, and he got a yellow flag, so I had to abort it. So he talked about all the pitfalls and how pleased he is that what is essentially a small team managed to capitalise on it. And then he said, tomorrow will be all about tyres, which is why I thought it would be perfect for you guys with Mario, but I know Mario's gone. But he gave me the strategy, medium, hard. Pretty much everyone can do that except Sauber, he says. But it'll be all about whether that medium tyre grains. So that is going to be the key for Racing Bulls turning 6th and 8th in qualifying into 6th and 8th in the race. And I'm sorry that came out of my mouth and not Alan Permain's, but that's pretty much what he said.
That's great. I mean, that was super exciting to see. I mean, how many... Lawson was at the top of the times. Who wasn't at the top of the times at some point?
Yeah.
It was amazing. Hey, Chris, I want to ask you a question that I asked Mario, and I don't think if you were on when I asked him. But when I saw Lando Norris take that pole position away from Max Verstappen in the wet, this pressure-packed moment, I mean, are we seeing a champion in the making? Here's what it feels like, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, I think the way he's performed over the last 4, 5, 6 races, I think has been really impressive. And I actually think we probably haven't given it enough, or Lando enough credit for that, given where the car was for a spell when Verstappen was winning. Now, if you think back to Singapore, who's the one who's chasing Verstappen down while they're both after George Russell? It was Norris, right there putting him under pressure. The same actually in Austin in terms of picking up solid points. And when the car wasn't a race winner anymore, Monza the same, Verstappen wins, who's second? It's Norris. He just did the job each time when the car wasn't actually at its best. Then we got to Mexico and the car was at its best, and we saw it all click. And that's when I think we realised, Lando's operating at a much more consistently high level, and today was another example of that. Maybe you could say when you've got a 24-point buffer, you can almost, drive a bit more confidently, that you just need to do a solid job. But his solid job now seems to be at the top level again, and it's at the perfect moment of the season. So really impressive, given the fact that Oscar ended up 5th as well. I mean, today could prove pivotal in the title fight, couldn't it?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, Bob Varsha, any thoughts? I mean, look, I ran down the top 10. I never actually ran down the bottom 10 after that. It was Hulkenberg in 11th, Stroll, who had a really interesting day. We'll talk about that. Ocon, Behrman, Colapinto, Albon, Antonelli, Bortoleto, Tsunoda, and Hamilton, which leads me to the question, what happened to Lewis Hamilton? How could he possibly be 20th?
I'm not the guy to ask, because I was as surprised as anybody when I saw him down there, because he was, flirting with the upper reaches of the grid, and then all of a sudden, boom, he was last, and I don't know how that happened. And last. He was like 4 seconds off of the pole time. So,
admittedly, the rain was really hard. That was the hardest we saw. Was right in the middle of that Q1 session. But
this is Lewis Hamilton. This is a 7-time world champion. Who has won races in the rain before against very stout competition, and they pulled it off.
Yeah. Chris? Well, go ahead, Bob. Finish up.
The other thing I was going to say was I watched the top 3 interviews, and I think I saw a flicker across Max Verstappen's face. He quite rightly considers himself, the greatest driver out there. He can go from a pit lane start to 3rd on a wet track in Brazil. He can do anything with the car. But I think he appreciated Lando's effort taking pole as much or more than anybody else out there. I think he saw, wait a minute, there's a guy out there who may be as good as me, or at least, for 2 hours on a Sunday afternoon.
Certainly on the night.
Yeah. All right. Any other drivers you want to bring up, Jonathan? Look, Antonelli. Pardon?
The 2 RBs all weekend long have really impressed me. Yeah. Lawson with his job on the line, and Hadjar obviously needing still to impress, but make it concrete that he is the guy that Helmut Marko is now beginning to talk about as the next guy. Lawson just wanting to keep his job, and deservedly so. Both of them today and over the weekend, and the whole team. They're punching way above the weight that we've seen them in the past, and finishing off this season at the moment anyway. Look at what he did in Brazil. We were talking about it today in the commentary. 52 laps on that medium. Really impressed with both Lawson and Hadjar.
Yeah,
I'd throw Carlos Sainz onto that pile.
Yeah, absolutely. Carlos Sainz finishing, on the podium, on the qualifying 3rd today is amazing. Mm-hmm. And, any surprises?
Well, I've got to jump in with some bad news on that one, John. But Sainz is under investigation for rejoining unsafely in Q1.
That's right,
it was flagged at the time. And so it's one of those where you don't really think about it until then you get the big result. But I went straight to Williams after the session thinking, James Vowles will probably be a great one to get if we can speak to him right now. And he's not always that chatty after qualifying, I will admit. Loves to get straight into debrief, but I thought today might be a good day. And he declined all requests and went dark and disappeared. And the comps team had to apologise, but say, look, there's no chance. I think he's a bit worried about what happens next, so doesn't want to speak until we get a result from that. So I know that was 10 minutes ago they had to go to stewards. In fact, more, maybe 20 minutes ago. So maybe we'll get a result on that quickly. But the Sainz one has a slight asterisk on it right now, which is a shame. Because.
And what about Mercedes investigation?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because I saw this and thought, oh, they're in big trouble. Hadn't submitted their setup sheets in time to the FIA and to scrutineering, so the technical delegate can't see what the setup of the car is to know what it has to stay as under Parc Fermé regulations. And I thought, well, that could be a disqualification because that's a technical infringement. But it says it's a breach of the sporting regs. And then, to be fair, I bow down to the superior knowledge on this sort of topic of Bernie Collins, who's doing Sky Sports this weekend. And she's obviously worked at Aston Martin and Force India as it was in a strategic capacity. So she knows all of the kind of rules and regs around this. And she says she thinks it'll be a slap on the wrists. But normally there's a fair enough reason, and teams have got away with it in the past where they can explain why it just didn't get to the technical delegate in time. But you can kind of try and still prove that you were running the car in the same state throughout the session. So I'd maybe jump the gun slightly about how big that could be, but we'll wait and see. That is actually currently an ongoing hearing. That started 10 minutes ago, that one. But very briefly, while I'm hogging the mic, you just mentioned drivers. Lewis was explaining actually that he didn't know he'd crossed the line in time to try and do one more lap at the end of Q1. He didn't think he'd made it. But also, he said he wasn't flat out because he'd had a yellow flag, so he'd lifted, and that he was like, well, I wasn't going quickly enough anyway at that point. But of course, the track improved so much. If he pushed on, who knows? So that could have tripped him up. And the other one I want to flag who's doing a great job, Pierre Gasly, into Q3 again in a car that has been horrific this season. So he's delivering. Like, he did it in Brazil and he's done it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, look, anybody that did well today in the rain here on this surface and in this, I feel like this is a higher pressure race. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe that's not true, but it's always a high pressure, and especially in the rain.
Yeah, and talking about that pressure and how quickly it can change, if you look at what happened to Norris, pole, and what happened to Albon, out, when you saw the sideways moves that Norris got away with in that final sector and what Albon didn't get away with, because clearly that car is good, that's kind of the difference between the pair, the whole day. And any one of the other 19 drivers could have had that jeopardy that Albon had.
Yeah. What about Oscar Piastri?
Well,
we have already talked about him. You know,
10th in Q2, just on the edge. I mean, I was going ballistic, going. The whole championship bears on whether Gasly could get into the top 10 or another driver. And if he just qualified 11th, okay, it's not over. But it definitely doesn't help his cause.
George Russell walking by our booth here.
He is tall, isn't he?
He is tall. He's almost as tall as I am. Yeah, he's a tall guy. Chris, Oscar Piastri, any thoughts?
Thoughts are that it could have been worse, actually, if you look at the way that session went. Sorry, I said about Bernie Collins. I was just getting her feedback again on that penalty, but she thinks it's fine. With Oscar, I think if you look at how it unravelled at times, and as Johnny was saying, so close in Q2, that P5 isn't great, but it is half as bad as it could have been, if not more. Yeah. So I just think it's a continuation of that maybe lack of confidence. This was probably the worst conditions he could have had. Yeah, he's still rebuilding. He made a step forward in Brazil, but the weekend didn't go his way. And then you get conditions like this, where it's low grip, which has been a weakness, and it's rained, and he just doesn't get the opportunity to build up again through the weekend, which is something he's been very good at doing. So I'll be interested to see how he handles tomorrow, because I think pressure's on him.
All right, well, we are just about out of time, about a minute left. Any quick final thoughts, Jonathan? And then I'll give everybody the schedule.
It's Vegas, baby. Anybody could win this one, honestly.
Yeah, it is very true. Tomorrow, this is going to be really exciting to see what this turns up. I mean, look, we could crown a champion, right? Mathematically?
Well, you could certainly, yes. If they could, well, the stats, no, you're absolutely right. If Lando can beat Verstappen by 9 points tomorrow.
Well, that'll disqualify Max.
That'll take him out of the championship, and McLaren, one of them, will be champion.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. For tomorrow, we have our pre-race show starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. Doing the quick math in my head. Excuse me, a.m. not p.m.
Yeah.
10 p.m. Eastern, and followed by a race, and then our post-race show immediately after that. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.